Great. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. It's about 10 o'clock. Good morning, everyone. We just wanted to welcome you all in today. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for our discussion about Walker Library's library instruction options for fall 2020. Let us take just a moment to introduce ourselves before we get started. My name is Ashley Shealy, and I'm a reference and instruction librarian at Walker Library.
And I'm Kristen West. I am the instruction librarian at Walker Library. So we are recording today's workshop, and a video with captions will be available later this week on the library's YouTube channel. If you have questions during the presentation, please type them in the chat. Jason Vance is helping us monitor chat. And if we don't answer your question in chat right when you ask it, there should be time for us to circle back to your question at the end of the presentation. We are planning to discuss a fair bit of information and show several pages on the library's website today, but we are going to follow up today's session with an email and that will have links to everything that we look at today. So please don't feel that you need to be frantically writing down URLs as we go. We have several other librarians and library staff who are with us today, many of whom are subject liaisons for specific academic departments or programs. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the library's liaison program, we will explain a little bit more about that later in the presentation. But for now, I would particularly like to introduce just a few people. Brielle Campos provides ePortfolio instruction through the MT Engage program. Nicole Francis, among other things, schedules library instruction for us, and Valerie Hackworth manages the library's public technology services and the library makerspace. And those three are integral parts of our instruction program.
So we realized that in planning for the session today, talking about some of the changes and things that we're planning to make to the instruction program for the fall, that you might have questions about some of the changes to overall library operations for fall 2020. So we wanted to take a quick moment to just kind of go over a few of those for those of you that have not yet been back on campus or haven't visited the library over the summer yet. Just like everything else on campus, these plans are subject to change and probably will change. But for right now, for fall semester, our plans are, you can see there's some of the things that we've listed, our adjustments to our library operations. We are planning to have the library opened with reduced occupancy. Social distancing measures will be in place, including no group study activities, probably some reduced hours, which we will announce and make public as we get closer to fall. Masks or cloth face coverings will be required, just like in any academic building on campus, as per President McPhee and the provost. Masks and cloth face coverings are going to be required in the building. We did want to convey too, though, that if there is a moment, we have had questions about this before, as far as we've been open up to this point, what to do if someone in the library is not wearing a mask. We do have a service desk in the library that is sort of trained to kind of keep an eye on those things. They're kind of surveying the building to make sure everyone is following the proper safety procedures. So if there is an instance where you're in the building and you see no one wearing a mask or something that was making you uncomfortable, the service desk can handle those questions. We did want to convey, though, too, that we will continue to loan most materials as usual. As long as we're open, as long as we're able to, we're planning to keep loaning things like student laptops, equipment, books through our pull and hold service, which we may touch on a little bit later as well. But all of these things, in addition to other updated adjustments to our library operations, will be available on our reopening page, which can be accessed through the library website. And down in that yellow banner at the bottom of the page there, you can see this is our reopening page as Kristen's pulled it up. We do have a library occupancy counter. This is sort of a live feed that kind of tells you how many people are in the building at one given moment. You can see there our capacity at this point is about 1,000 people. You can see how many are in there currently. It updates about every 60 seconds, I believe. And as you scroll down on this page a little bit, you can see our summer hours, kind of what to expect in the library, spaces that are currently open, and spaces that are currently closed. And these may continue to change, as we mentioned, as the semester rolls forward, and any updates or changes to our library operations we'll put on this page here. Down at the bottom, we do have a quick mention for some of the continued library services. Our online chat, virtual reference help. There's a link down there to our pull and hold service for checking out books and materials, and some other links as well.
And then while we're sitting on this page, I'll point out one of my favorites, the building hours link at the top of the page. And we've adjusted that to show virtual and physical hours. So the virtual hours are the hours when you should be able to reach a reference librarian through Ask Us. But if you click on that hours link, then you will have more information about the regular building hours and a calendar for the semester. And I imagine that pretty soon we will have these fall hours filled in on the calendar. Next, we'd like to tell you a little bit about the library's instruction program in case you are not familiar with what we do. At the request of faculty, librarians lead instruction sessions to teach students how to conduct library research that's required to complete their course assignments. Some librarians work as subject liaisons to specific departments or programs, teaching instruction sessions, providing research consultations to faculty and students in their liaison area. Liaison librarians also work with faculty to ensure that the library has the materials that you need for your research and that we have the materials and resources to support student research and student learning. We also have a group of reference and instruction librarians, and Ashley and I are part of that group, who teach library instruction for classes such as University Seminar, known as University 1010, Fundamentals of Communication, which is COM 2200, Research and Argumentative Writing. Until March, those classes were usually conducted in one of our 2 computer classrooms in the library. The librarian consults with the faculty member to tailor the session to class assignments. For extensive assignments, the librarian may meet with a class more than one time. The most effective sessions include time for the students to search for secondary sources and library materials while the librarian and the faculty member are there to provide help and advice. And another key point is that we found sessions are most effective when they are timed during the semester so that the students are ready to conduct library research. There's a little more buy-in, I think, from the students when they know something is gonna, they're gonna have to produce something pretty soon.
So sort of keeping those 2 ideas in mind, kind of how to balance, our need for safety, but also the need for keeping intact the integrity of our instruction program and helping students and faculty as much as we possibly can. We have addressed a few changes to our instruction program for the fall of 2020. For fall, we will conduct our library instruction online through a variety of different methods. We have a few listed here on the slide: a live Zoom session kind of like this, a pre-recorded Zoom session with a librarian talking over a PowerPoint or a database page, things that we can do through D2L, kind of put in a course shell. But our decision to move instruction online was sort of made in conjunction with all of these new safety measures that were put in place through the library and on campus. And so we wanted to be really thoughtful about how we could still provide a robust instruction program that meets the needs of students and faculty while keeping everything safe and everything accessible. So our true goal throughout all of this is to replicate kind of what Kristen was just talking about, replicate in the online environment the learning outcomes and the learning experience of our existing program. So we're trying to replicate that as closely as possible that we can. Now we do recognize, we wanted to mention this too sort of as a caveat today, we do recognize that there are some classes, some instruction assignments and things, components of classes that we recognize typically benefit from hands-on instruction or interaction with physical library materials or interaction throughout a library space. So we are open to discussing some of those instances on a case-by-case basis. Again, we are kind of leaving library faculty just with other faculty on campus, leaving library faculty and teaching instructors to kind of determine what their own comfort level is with some of these things. But we are open as a department to sort of discussing an in-person session that might meet either in the library, a modified class presentation on a case-by-case basis. So we did want to at least throw that out there, that all of our instruction is going to be online, but we are open to discussing some in-person sessions. All of that, also to mention too, that will be of course subject to availability. So that'll be something that you might want to consult your library liaison about, or Kristen or me or Jason, but we can work with you over the course of the semester to provide what we're able to provide. We also have some other instructional services that we're looking at providing in addition to online instruction. And Kristen's going to talk a little bit about that and then kind of go into how you can schedule a session like these.
All right, so these are services that we already provide, but again, that you may not be familiar with. So the first thing we are going to look at are research guides. So research guides are web pages written by MTSU librarians that provide links to library databases and other research sources. On the library website, research guides are organized by broad subject areas. Many of those subject areas correspond to programs or academic majors on campus. So I am going back to the library's homepage. And inside the search box in the middle of the homepage is the link to research guides. And this is our long list of broad subject areas. There are subject areas also for types of library materials or types of library content. So there's a guide to biographical sources, for example. There's a guide to current events and issues. And any one subject may have one or more guides underneath it. So an example to look at under art and design would be the art and design research guide. Each guide may be organized a bit differently depending on what content the librarian is highlighting, but we generally try to put on the front page of a guide some of the best places to find journal articles or some other important resources. A research guide can also be a way to locate a library liaison. So in this instance, Grover wrote the art and design guide, and he is the liaison for art and design, as well as several other departments on campus. And if I just hit my back button, I'll point out there's a search box here. So we are searching the content of these guides. So if we search newspapers, we're going to get a lot of hits for the newspapers research guide. So this one is organized a bit differently. but provides links to the subscription newspaper resources we have, as well as links to freely available newspapers on the internet, historical newspapers, etc. Course guides are research guides designed for a specific course, often at the request of a faculty member. And a course guide may accompany a library instruction session. It may stand alone. We've written course guides for classes for whom we don't do instruction, but any course where the assignments call for the use of perhaps specific library resources, any of those courses would be game for a course guide. And if you look in any given subject, you will see some course guides listed. You can also sort by type. Oh, still got newspapers sitting there in my search box. I'm going to go back home and go to research guides again. So now by type, here are the course guides. And so here's one example of a course guide, CDFS 4350. So this is a guide that Ashley wrote in conjunction with Claire Cook. And this did accompany instruction that Ashley provides for the parenting class. And this is a nice way to highlight specific resources, and in this case, you know, sources that may not be highlighted or included in a research guide. Sometimes there's so much content on a research guide that a course guide can focus students' attention. The next instructional resource that I'd like to show you and tell you about are video tutorials. So I'm going back to the library's homepage, and then actually I'm going up at the top to the, can't even remember myself, Get Help Library Tutorials. So the library has produced several videos that demonstrate how to use specific library resources such as Joule Search, or how to use library services such as the pull and hold service. And we have highlighted these here. We are open to suggestions about videos that you think would be useful. It's possible with some lead time that we could create a simple short video, again, for an instructor that is looking for help to know how to help students use a specific resource. And we just added this morning, I think Amy York might have been fast at work here, a virtual library tour. So we've had questions already about in-person tours, and we haven't quite figured out our answer to that yet. We know that walking around in the building with 15 people in a group is not going to meet the safety measures in place. One option for a tour is the True Blue virtual tour of the building. It was filmed in March, so it doesn't address safety measures, but it does walk the viewer through our building, and then a student ambassador is narrating the video, explaining some of the services and spaces that we have. And then we also do have a short video up that does talk about library measures for social distancing. Two other services that we offer as instruction are an embedded librarian and e-portfolio instruction. So I'm going back up to library services. Oh, I'm previewing. I'm going to go to library services, and I'm going to go to faculty and instructors. And we're going to look at this page again in a moment. But this page is probably one of the most important pages to remember, and we will highlight it in the email we send after the session. Library services, services for faculty instructors, links to a variety of request forms, services, anything that we think a faculty member might be using in class. And from here, you can request an embedded librarian So an embedded librarian is a librarian who can be added to your D2L course shell, and then the librarian can help students within D2L access journal articles, books, course reserve material, help resolve technical difficulties in accessing online library materials, provide help with citation formats. So that is something that the faculty member initiates the request, and then we work with ITD to add the librarian to your class list in D2L. Brielle Campos, as I mentioned earlier, is a graduate assistant with MT Engage, and she is available to provide online instruction sessions for classes that have an e-portfolio requirement. And along with that, Brielle has written a very extensive research guide that provides an introduction to e-portfolio and D2L, provides a lot of examples and some videos. And we'll show you in a few minutes how to get to all of that material. The last thing I wanted to highlight as an instructional service is the fact that librarians are available to consult with faculty on any of the services that we've just discussed. We are available to collaborate on assignment design that incorporates information literacy concepts or library resources. We may be able to suggest specific library resources or services for you to highlight to your students in D2L. We can help you with permanent links for sharing library resources with students. Okay, if there was not enough show and tell in the last few minutes, a little bit more show and tell. We want to make sure you know how to find your library liaison, and then how to request an instruction session, either from Brielle for e-portfolio instruction or instruction from a librarian, and show you how to request an embedded librarian. And so for that, I'm going back to the page that I previewed. So on the library's website, library services, services for faculty instructors. Actually, much of what we just discussed is listed at the top of the page. This is some content we added in the past few months to highlight online resources, but those same services are listed below. So if you scroll down to Research, Resources, Subject, Liaison, Librarians. And in some cases, the liaison assignments are divided by college, in some cases by department, some cases even by program. So it's in that sense, it's a bit of a mishmash. But you can find your librarian here. You've got a link to their email, and in the next few weeks, we will roll out a page that's a bit more informative and interactive. To request library instructions, I'm just going to go back to the page for faculty and instructors. Here is the link, Request Library Instruction. If you have used this form before, I will say we've added a couple of fields to the form. When a faculty member completes the form, it comes to me, it comes to Nicole, who handles scheduling, and we have added a drop-down for the subject area of the class, and that will allow us to also send your submission directly to the liaison. So if someone requests instruction for recording industry, that submission will come to me and Nicole, but it will also go to Grover, who then has a heads up about what you're looking for. And then typically, once we receive a form, Nicole or one of the librarians will contact the faculty member to discuss what it is that you need, to discuss the content, to agree on, the right time and place for that instruction to happen. And if you're not sure what you want to do or what service you may need or how to structure the instruction, feel free to contact your liaison or to contact me either as or before you submit a request. For e-portfolio instruction, we also have a request form. It looks very similar. And this form will go directly to Brielle, and then she will contact you again to arrange a time and a place, which will probably be Zoom for the instruction. One thing to note about Zoom sessions, and we've only done a few this summer, so we are feeling things out just like everyone else on campus. If, as a faculty member, if you are scheduling Zoom meetings for your class from within D2L, my understanding is the only individuals who will be able to attend that Zoom session are the individuals in your class list. So that means if you have a librarian who's going to provide instruction online through Zoom and you schedule the class meeting through D2L, we won't be able to get into the session unless we're already in your D2L shell and in your class list. So that's something we may have to work through. And my initial thought is that for many of those sessions, it may work better if the librarian schedules the Zoom session, gives the faculty member the link to share with your students. The other thing that would do is ensure that the librarian can edit the video, edit the transcript afterward, and that will be our responsibility, at least for the library portion of that instruction, to make sure that you have a good video and a good transcript to share with students after the session. And then embedded librarian. So again, on the page for services for instructors and faculty is the link to request an embedded librarian. And this request actually goes to Sharon Parenti, our distance learning librarian, and she will go ahead and send that request on to ITD to have the librarian added to your course.
So we've focused on a lot of instructional services and resources today, and we recognize that you all may have some questions about other library services, maybe tangentially related to instruction or perhaps just general library services. So we wanted to give a chance for you all to ask questions. Also, just to mention again, we encourage you to contact your liaison for specific questions about specific classes or very subject-specific instruction sessions. You're also welcome to contact any one of us, Kristen, me, Jason. And as Kristen mentioned before too, we'll follow up today with a summary of everything that we showed, all of the dedicated links to the forms, the pages, all of the resources at the end of the session today. So we wanted to give an opportunity to let you all ask any questions that you might have that we did not address, or things that came through chat that we weren't able to address yet.
So Aaron just asked how many computers will be available for students in the digital media studio, makerspace. I'm going to let Valerie answer that question, put her on the spot.
Thank you for your question. Half of all of our computers in the building are available to students. We have approximately 500 computers available, so that means 250 when the whole building opens up. We have half of the Mac lab in the makerspace available to students, half of the virtual reality, 3D, AR, and VR computers available to students as well. So the specific numbers, I believe, are 12 Macs and 7 3D, AR, VR computers in the makerspace. Throughout the rest of the library, basically every other computer has been blocked off. We do not know, that is to be determined, when those computers will be available for use by students based on circumstance. But thank you for your question.
I know Jason's been busy sharing links in chat and answering questions. Is there anything you see in the chat, Jason, that we haven't addressed?
Yeah, in case you thought I was a Zoom bomber who's just coming in and bombarding you with links, that's my role in this workshop. One of the questions that Larry had asked earlier was about the what things will be different. How will things, are there normal services that we're not offering? And I'll take a first stab at that. There are things that that we're doing this summer. So we've been kind of operating on what we're calling phase 2, which is a gradual reopening of certain services and certain areas of the library. We just got word this week that the university is moving to phase 3 of the reopening, and so that's something that we're probably looking at in the next week or two, is starting to open up other parts of the library or other services. So as far as the differences, other than the things that Kristen and Ashley have highlighted, I think the big difference for our students who come into the library is not so much the services, because they'll still be able to use equipment, they'll still be able to check out our research materials, they'll still be able to do a lot of things online, they'll still be able to get help from librarians and our staff. I think the big difference is going to be the social aspect of the library. We had a crew that went in the summer and removed a lot of chairs from the open areas of the library, so that all of our big group study areas are now set up for individual study. So even if there's a big table where normally we would have a group of 4, now there's only 1 chair at that table. So it's really the social distancing, I think, will be the big change. This summer we've also been limiting access to only students and faculty and staff. So in the past, we've been open to the community. That's been a change this summer, just to kind of keep a handle on the number of people that are coming in. We're also checking, there's a check-in where you bring your ID and you scan it to get into the building. We are requiring face masks, just like all the other buildings on campus. And even, and you know, this has been kind of a learning period for us this summer, but we have students who've come in and said, I'm in the library, there aren't many people here, back in the stacks, can I take off my mask while I'm sitting here just doing my homework or typing a paper? And the answer to that is no. There are no exceptions. You are required to wear a mask at all times when you're in the library, unless you're eating or drinking in one of our study rooms. We will be bringing our group study rooms. So we have some 42, I think, group study rooms that are available, where people can, some of those can be reserved ahead of time. So when the students come in, they have a space that's dedicated for them for an allotted amount of time. We're going to be changing that up a little bit as well. Those will be study rooms that can be booked, but they will be booked for individual use. The idea being that you have students who are taking your online classes, but you've also got students who are on campus taking some classes, and they need a space where they can camp out for that hour, hour and a half to take the online class. And they'll be able to plug in those classrooms and have a quiet space. They're not having to do this on their phone in a car. They can come into the library and have a space where they can attend your online classes. So we'll be opening those up starting this fall.
One other thing that I just thought of while Jason was talking is I know there are students who have questions about where they can go on campus to attend a Zoom session, particularly if they've got back-to-back, you know, conventional or web-assisted classes that are meeting on campus, and then 20 minutes later they need to be in a Zoom session. So in the next week or so, we will have more detailed information for students about what they might need to bring, where they can go in the library to access Zoom. I know many of our students probably already know that, but particularly for new students. And the basic advice is going to be bring your device if you have it, bring a headset if you have it. But we do have laptops that students can borrow. Those laptops have cameras and microphones. Anyway, just know that that information will be on our reopening page pretty soon.
I guess the other change that we've implemented over this break is the pull and hold, and Kristen and Ashley referred to that earlier. If you're not familiar with that, it's kind of our version of the Kroger click list. So you can, if you're looking for things from our print collection, you can make a request for that through our online library catalog, and then our staff will pull those books for you, go ahead and check them out to you, and we have a desk, or I'm sorry, a bookcase that's just right inside the front door, so that if you just need to send a few requests today, send a few requests tomorrow, and then say Friday you're stopping in, we'll hold those on that shelf for you, I think for 10 days. Then you can stop in and just grab your books and go. So it's a contact-free pickup service, and that's available to all faculty, staff, and students. So if you have students who are only on campus once a week, but they need to kind of strategize their library visits and they don't want to spend their time running around the stacks, they can make those requests, and we'll have them checked out and ready for them. And I'll paste a link for that into the chat as well.
As Sharon said in chat just now, please let us know your needs. We are continually adjusting and tweaking, and we love feedback, positive or negative. Sometimes, you know, librarians, we think people want the whole world and we want to give you the whole world, and we realize that that may not be what you need and want. Is the sign of a good meeting one that ends early? We certainly don't want to cut anybody off if you have any more questions, but we appreciate you coming today, and we do appreciate your questions and your interests. Feel free to follow up with Ashley, with me, or with your library liaison. If you're not quite sure from our lists who your liaison is, feel free to email me. We've done our best to make those matches clear on the library's website, but there may be a case where it's not quite so clear for you. Thank you very much for coming.
Yes. Thank you all so much.